Hello, buddy. It's Vinyl Richard with the Vinyl Finds. I'm gonna have to keep it down a little bit. I got a cough. I've had a cough the past week. I'm hoping I can get through this. This is a Vinyl Finds, but there's a couple of things I want to touch on. I'll probably forget half of the things I want to touch on. I have, since my last Vinyl Finds, I went to the record store twice. I received some BCLT. I ordered a record online because of a live stream I was watching. But first, I want to talk about a new channel that I discovered 2 nights ago. It was recommended, and 2 interesting looking guys. Tied Down is the name of the channel. Anybody that watches my channel that's into the punk or the hardcore, you need to check these guys out, and I would ask you to subscribe to them. They're unique, and they're fantastic, man. They remind me of Diamond and Silk. I don't know if you remember the 2 black women that were Trump supporters. They used to make these videos on YouTube, and they blew up. I think they even went to a Trump rally, and I mean, he featured them highly because they were great. And like Diamond and Silk, these guys, you know, one guy, he'll start a sentence and the other guy finishes it, you know, and it's just a great interaction. It's fantastic. It's the best new channel I've discovered in a while. Besides Blockhead, but I've known about him for a while. Anyways, on my last Vinyl Finds, I talked about selling my Ramones box set. It was up there with the box sets. The debut album, it was they had a vinyl record in mono, which I preferred the original stereo mix, and it came with 3 CDs. I sold that on Discogs, and with the money in PayPal, I bought this Record Store Day Wall of Voodoo Live. I showed this in my last Vinyl Finds, and I got this, Heaven Was Blue. I didn't show this because it hadn't arrived yet. I guess after like 14 days, they contacted me and said, hey, we're going to refund your money. We can't find the record. And I don't know. And then I ordered it again. It was like $28 or something. And right away, the guy said it was shipped. 8 days later, I contacted him, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's not in the cards for me to get this record. I contacted the guy, and he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to ship it. I'll ship it today. And it came like, I think the next day or the day after. Anyways, I found out about this from those vinyl archives thread that's going around that Searching a Thread is doing. And VinylStockholm, a channel, he featured this record. It's Heaven Was Blue by Rick Saucedo. I got the 2 LP Gershom reissue, and I must say it's fantastic. Now, I did some research and reading up on this, and a lot of people suggested you got to get the original. It sounds better, but this sounds fine to me. It was recorded in 78. So it's late for a Psych album. And I think the guy was 22. Rick was 22. He plays all the instruments on the album. I think when he was 16, he did a Elvis impersonation act. And he got so much attention, he ended up going on Broadway in New York and was part of a Broadway show as an Elvis impersonator. And it was during that time that he recorded this. Now, his voice doesn't sound like Elvis at all, so it's pretty interesting. The first song is Reality. It's a very acoustic-driven song, very, very dreamy. It goes right into the next song, In My Mind, which is kind of in the same vein, except it has these electric guitars in there and some fuzz guitar start to enter. But then it goes to country shaking, history making. The wanker on the album. It's not good. It's like a 50s rock number. It doesn't fit at all. And then the fourth and final song on side one is Come On, We're Gonna Rock All Night Long. Another rocker. But this one is a little more electric guitar driven and has some fuzz in it. So it's not quite as bad as that country shaking one. Now side two is Heaven Was Blue. It's kind of a suite of songs that all kind of blend together. You know how like those prog bands were doing in the 70s? But this isn't prog at all. It's acoustic driven, kind of mellow, dreamy Psych with electric guitars floating in and out. Some drum flourishes now and again. There's a couple of instrumentals, Angels March in Hell and Angels March Out of Hell. And those ones, you can hear some drum rolls, like military drum rolls. Those drums are a little more prominent. And some fantastic bass playing in this that is reminiscent of, I don't know, late Beatles, Paul McCartney bass playing. Fantastic. Overall, it's a great album. I mean, except for those two songs. Now, side three, it's, like I said, it's 2 LPs. It's got some unreleased tracks. And the first one is Oh My God. And that was supposed to be a response to the second song on the album, In My Mind. Oh My God tells what happens to this guy. And if that would have followed In My Mind instead of Country Shakin', the album would have been a lot better. And then the other two songs have a keyboard player. There is some keyboard on the album that Rick plays, but on the other two songs on side three, there is a keyboard player and a drummer in. And those two songs are really quite well. If they would have put those songs on instead of those 50s rocker types, this would have been a perfect Psych album. It was a private press, not very many, it's expensive, that type of thing. Side four is like some single versions of Reality, another radio mix of Reality, and then the single version of Country Shakin', The Wanker. And this is the insert, came with it. This is a picture of Rick with his sitar. That's what the album sounds like, right there. And some words. And I'm only going to show one of the Gershom labels. Both records are the same. Very great. It's a great record label if you like archival, recordings. It's out of Spain, so I don't order from them directly because the shipping often is just as much or more than the actual record. But a lot of times, if there's one I'm interested in, it'll pop up from a seller from the U.S. Now, the next two records are some BCLT I got. Now, this year, I purposely did not make a Record Store Day video. Because last year, because I didn't go, I knew I wasn't going to go. I knew I wasn't going to go last year. I did make one last year. And I told, what my wants were. And turns out some people, Steve Carlson and Mazzy, ended up sending me the ones that I wanted. I don't know, man. BCLT is fine, and I love it. It's great. But, oh, man, just the burden of not what I got to get you, But anyways, VinylPiper reached out to me, and he said he had a copy of this he'd like to send my way, and I'm not going to say no. It's Gandalf, the Record Store Day version, 1969 Psych album. We're starting out heavy with the Psych, but we'll get into some punk, don't worry. And this was shown quite a bit. I was kind of surprised how many people showed this album. Because in the past, when they have these type of 60s Psych Record Store Day releases, only a few people show it. It's usually the channels, the Psych channels that I kind of watch, like Psyche Derek or Hog's Ear Report or Dead Wax 66 when he used to make videos. This is kind of it's a well-recorded, whimsical, kind of very good pop, psych, kind of in the vein of the Zombies, Odyssey, and Oracle. And I'm not going to go. I mean, a lot of people talked about this already. And it's on a really nice green. And just like that Gerson reissue, they're dead quiet. It's fantastic. Really cool green. Green's my favorite color. Go Jets. And he also sent me this bootleg. Roger Waters bootleg. Live 2016 at the Polo Grounds in Indio. I don't know if that's where the Coachella Festival is. I think it might be. But yeah, this is pretty good. I'll stick this with my in my Pink Floyd section. I have a couple of bootlegs by them. Apparently this bootleg was made by some people in the VC who will remain anonymous. And this is what the record looks like. Just plain, and it's also a beautiful green. Yeah, this is more of a Go Jets green right there, man. And yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I'm not a Roger Waters fan. He's a bit of a wanker. And what's kind of funny, man, is I guess he don't like Trump, you know? Fuck Trump and his wall. And it's kind of funny, man. You know, one wanker's ragging on another wanker, if you ask me. Thank you, VinylPiper. I'm going to leave a link to him. I'm going to leave a link to Tied Down. And I'm going to leave a link to Blockhead. He sent me some BCLT. Now, I guess I've shown some of... I have, I think, 3 of their singles. It could be 4, but I believe it's 3. I think a couple of them came out when this album came out. And I think another one was a little bit after. But I remember him saying, "Oh man, you're the first person I've seen talk about Girl Trouble." And I think it's one of his favorite bands. They're from Tacoma, Washington. Or that's where they're based out of. If you like the Cramps, you're going to like this band. And if you like the Cramps, you might already be aware of them. They're garage rock. Now, the guitars don't always sound like the Cramps. I mean, I think Hot Monkey Love, there's actually a guitar solo. I mean, it's not like a Van Halen bullshit, but... And then in Riverbed, the guitars have a different sound to them. It's not quite as garagey. So they're not like a clone of the Cramps, but they're in the same vein. They do a George Jones White Lightning cover. It's fantastic, man. I don't know why I never dove into their albums. I only bought the singles. The words, a couple of pictures, and then he included this calendar, and I guess they were giving these away at the 40th anniversary gig. He said, yeah. And the record, a really nice reissue on K Records, which I believe. The singles I have, I think 2 of them are on K Records. And the third one, I don't remember. Now, this next one is a record I bought because of a live stream that I watched. Analog Attack. Now, might have been 2 record store or vinyl finds ago. I showed this record, the Vile Cherubs, on Discord Records, and I heard about this from the Analog Attack live stream a couple of months ago. Well, I was watching one of their live streams a couple of weeks ago, and one of the guys was talking about the Dead Ends. I guess it's a Filipino punk band from the 80s. This is their second album. It came out in 87. I believe their first album came out in 86. And this is, I had never heard of them, but I remember talking about them. And it's on Merciless Records. And I guess the owner of Sorry State Records, he was chatting in the comments during this live stream. And he was saying, yeah, we sold some of those. I think we're sold out. So I went online, went on the Sorry State Records, and they had this one for sale. So I bought it. Now, since buying it, people have told me this is probably their best album. And if you read their words, they kind of felt this is when we came into our own. And I need to listen to this some more. It's fantastic. It's really fast punk rock. The vocals are more in line with the kind of the 70s or the LA punk hardcore scene. They're not that real brutal sound at all. Really catchy songs. I believe this is my only Philippines or punk rock album I have from the Philippines. It came with a sticker that just fell on the floor, and it had this little insert. And that's what the records look like. The labels. Very cool. Now, on to my 2 trips to the record store. I traded in some records. I think it was 8 records. He gave me $60 credit, and I was looking. There was some stuff on the wall that, oh man, I want to get that. I want to get that. One of them being the Crucifix. But I opted for this. It was not on the wall. It was in the bins, the wrap bins. And this is a Death Grips ex-military. It's a 2 LP set. This was originally a mixtape that they did. They did release some original records. Those sell in the thousands. It's been bootlegged quite a few times. This bootleg was basically $55. He gave me 16 credit, 55. I figured 55 in the tax. I just told him, you want to call it even? And he goes, yeah. This is a industrial experimental rap. Now, if you listen, if you just listen to that song, you would think this is like an old school, minimal, old school rap, with that drum. But nah, a lot of their other songs, they're really noisy. The singer is really aggressive. And they sample Charles Manson. They sample Rumble by Link Ray. They sample Rise Above by Black Flag. They sample some early Pink Floyd. I think it's Astronomic Domain and that whatever Overdrive song, So they have they sample a lot of weird, different variety of stuff, but it's a very aggressive album. I never thought, and the reason I looked into Death Grips, because the last time I was at the store, they had a bootleg of this album, but the instrumental version, just without the rapping. I thought, you know what, I'm going to see how much that is. And I saw this there. They didn't have the instrumental one anymore. So I was really pleasantly surprised to pick that up, to be quite honest. Now, I've heard some of their other stuff, and I don't like it as much. It's kind of like electronic beeps and boops and beep, 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 beep. Oh boy, don't start coughing. We're going to have to rush this through. And it's on a really, it was purpley. Both records are the same. Shoot. Now I went back to the Going Underground Records, and I sold my Headache Big Black album, the one in the body bag. I had 2 copies of that, so I put it on Discogs, left it there for a week. I think I was asking $210. Didn't sell, so I'm gonna see what he'll give me. He gave me 110, and this is what I picked up 2 off of the wall that were there from the previous visit, and one of them is Nardcore. This is a Mystic Records compilation. This is way better than I expected. And the reason I picked this up is because after I got that ex-military, I listened to this. I streamed this in the backyard drinking some beers. And I go, holy mackerel. So I was kind of glad this was still there. It's got Ill Repute, Rat Pack, Aggression. One of my favorites, Dr. No, RKL, Rich Kids on LSD. It's got all the bands from the Oxnard area. I think all the way up to Santa Barbara. I think RKL are from Santa Barbara. But man, Ill Repute. I don't know if I said that. But yeah, this is fantastic, dude. And I remember when the Mystic Records, they were out in the 80s. They weren't really, people bought them, but they weren't considered like, classics. And this insert came, it's like a little booklet. But yeah, it's really cool. And I would say a near mint version on Mystic Records. Fantastic. Now the other one I got that was off the wall was the Exploited. 1990 Exploited album, The Massacre. Now I have all the Exploited albums through the 80s. I don't have this one, and I think there was a 90s one that came out in 96. I didn't have those. And they were mainly CD releases, if I'm right. That's why this was probably a little pricier than what most people would be willing to pay. But since it was trading, I didn't mind. But this is fantastic. It's a little more metallic than some of their 80s stuff, but it's still got the same vibe, the same sound. And it's actually really, really good. Now, like I said, and I want to get the 96 one. Why not? The Exploited might not be the most original punk band in the world, but I haven't heard a bad album by them, to be honest. And it's on Rough Justice. What a heavy album, man. Just fantastic. Waddy's got a great voice. The band is cooking. This is the original sleeve. And those 2 records, the Nardcore and the Exploited, came to like $100. So I got, man, what can I find? And I found this 12-inch single. It was like $10. So I picked it up. Tennessee. It's one of my favorite songs, rap songs from the 80s. Or maybe 90s, by this time. Anyways. Very cool song, man. I really dug Arrested Development. They were cool. I need to see if I can find their first album. But this is cool. It's got like 4 versions of Tennessee on it. And then it's got a version of a song called Natural. But yeah. That's it, man. I got through it without coughing too bad. Man, I thought, when I was coughing there, I thought, oh man, I don't want to have to pause this and start all over. But anyways, take care. Please subscribe to Tied Down. I guess they're named after the Negative Approach album, which is... Take care, everybody.